Just describe your background to begin, George. Your background in Sioux City and Woodbury County, and just how you grew up here and your ties to the community.
Okay, I did grow up here. I grew up in South Sioux City, Nebraska, Brad. Graduated from high school over there, went through the educational system. From there, I went to Nebraska Wesleyan for a couple of years as a music major, and then I had to come home. After 2 years, my brother and I, there was three of us at Nebraska Wesleyan, and my parents couldn't afford to keep us all three there because I had a sister that was terminally ill at the time, and so my brother and I quit school, come home. I got a job in the packing house, Needham Packing House, my brother and I, to help my family support, the illness of my sister. I worked there probably for about 2.5 years in the hide cellar. Very difficult work. I saved enough money to transfer my credits from Nebraska Wesleyan to Morningside College, and in 1961 I became a student out there full-time, and that's where I met my wife in 1962. I dropped out of school, went back to work again because I had a family to support. And make a long story short, I've worked on a number of different jobs. I was a foreman at the Zenith plant, and I was directed 2 lines of women that we built. We built radios for Zenith. In 1968, I was asked to make an application at the Sanford Community Center to work with youngsters, and I did that. The board hired me as program director there, and I've been there ever since. I became executive director of that facility in 1972, and that was the same year I graduated from Morningside College. They also hired me part-time as a foreign student advisor, minority counselor at Morningside College. And I worked there until 1984. I recruited for the college. I set up all of their activities for the minority students, dealt with all of the foreign student issues as far as immigration was concerned. That was a really nice job, but I loved my job better at the Sanford Center, and that's when I quit that job and went full-time really at the Sanford Center.
Did you do both jobs for a while?
I did both jobs for a while.
Okay. And you've been executive director since 72.
I've been executive director since 1972.
Okay.
But actually been an employee of the center since 1968.
And you did finish up your degree at Morningside?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then you ran for school board?
I ran for school board in 1971.
Uh-huh.
And I won the race. That was the first time I'd been involved in any kind of politics. And I served on the school board from 1971 to about 1982.
Okay, and my next question, we'll just go there now since we're kind of getting to this part of your biography, but when did you become interested in politics and public policy? So I'm guessing it's about that time, or
well, it was actually before that, and I'll go back a little ways because I've had a lot things in my life. When I was a student at Nebraska Wesleyan, I had the opportunity to hear John F. Kennedy on campus. That was about 1959 that happened. And as you know, Methodist schools required in those days you had to attend a convocation program each and every Wednesday. And I went to this convocation program because I had to do it. And I always get there early because then I could fall asleep in the back row. And this time, John F. Kennedy was there to talk to the student body. He was beginning his campaign for the presidency of the United States. And he really motivated me to do more in my life than go to college and basically get out of college and just go to work in my profession, in the profession that I've graduated in. That's when I first really started getting interested in politics and what I felt I needed to achieve along with that, and how I was raised too, Brett. My family is a family that I was brought up in the church. We are people that feel that if you have a talent, you've got to share that and to help your fellow man and sister with whatever talents that you have. And that played into it in a major way. So it goes back that far. So when I got the job at the Sanford Community Center, again, I was dealing with a lot of youth, and at that time, there were a lot of minority youth that was, particularly black youth, that was being suspended for school, and their parents didn't have the ability or the courage, if you will, to appear before the school board and voice their displeasure with their youngster being kicked out of school or advocate for them. They would ask me to go, and I would go before the board and make the case for bringing
this
this
school board meeting then?
to a school board meeting,
Okay.
and I would be the advocate for these youngsters that was being kicked out of school, that was also attending our Sanford Center programs. I finally reached a point in 1971 that I wasn't making much headway in convincing the board that maybe they should change some policy and look at things in a little different way and not be kicking our youngsters out, so readily than other students. That's when I decided that if I'm going to make any kind of a difference in policy in changing the system, that I needed to take papers out and run for office.
Okay. So, like more like in-school suspensions, you felt like was better than being told?
Well, there was no in-school suspension during those days.
But you felt that a full expulsion was too much?
A full expulsion was too much, and that the extent of the expulsion was extensive. When a youngster was kicked out of school in those days, or suspended from school, they were just left, to go home, and there was no alternative suspension program at all anywhere for those youngsters.
Okay.
And they were in the street, and they were causing problems at home. The parents had to work and weren't home with those youngsters. And there was one time in 1972, a youngster had been suspended from school, and he was an elementary youngster. He had attempted to set the school on fire. And the parents had nowhere, to send that youngster because both parents worked, and they needed somewhere for that youngster to spend a day. So that's when I basically started our suspension program at the Sanford Center, because I set up a situation where the teacher could come and do every day and teach that youngster while that youngster was suspended. The youngster was suspended for the entire semester.
Just one question as a follow-up. What did JFK say that day that inspired you? You said more than just go to college and get out of college and start working. But
Well, he said that we basically had an obligation as Americans, and particularly the young students like we were, to make a commitment to our country, because we had so much to give and so much to be grateful for because of our ancestors' past history. I guess that's what really kind of motivated me to hear that from a man like him.
Did you ever see him in subsequent speeches or any other time? In
person? No, not in person. Just
That one
on
time?
television. Just that one time, I got to.
Okay.
I got to hear him. I got to be close to him. I didn't get to shake his hand. I wish I had have, and that was an exciting time for me. That was the first time I really met a person of his stature and importance.
Okay. Okay. And what then in your skill set and your background makes you a good county supervisor, and would make you a good county supervisor for another term?
I think that basically my experience that I've had, in the past, and my ability to communicate with people, and my ability to listen to people's concerns and take them seriously. When people address people like myself that's involved in politics, we should take whatever their concerns are very, very seriously, because otherwise they wouldn't be talking to us. And I try to do that in every way that I can, so that I can represent everyone that lives in this community.
What are the chief issues facing Woodbury County right now?
I think
Two or three.
I think the chief issues facing us right now is, of course, the budgeting is the most primary one as far as I'm concerned. We look at the budgets, on an annual basis, and we go through those budgets line item by line item, and we're the only governmental body that I know of that does that, starting in December. I say that's important because we have to determine, what services are going to be provided by all of the governmental programs that we have oversight over, including the other elected officials, and that also determines what tax levies that we're going to have to apply or not apply. I think that's crucial. The other thing that I think is important that we've been involved in for the last 8 to 10 years really have been our aggressiveness to help bring better jobs and opportunities to the community, and to build Woodbury County economic base, and to broaden that so that we can basically be able to somehow level off taxes and also decrease them if we can. I think that we're going to be able to do that within the next 5 to 10 years. I think this county's going to probably be better off than any of the counties in the state of Iowa, based on the kind of developments that's going on right now.
Okay. Why are you the best candidate then for a county position?
I think I'm the best candidate because of my years of experience and leadership ability, and I think that I can represent our constituency in this community very well. I have the experience. There's a lot of things that's happening in the county that is going to be important to it in the future. I want to be a part of that, and I do think that experience is important, and leadership, and I think I've demonstrated that those qualities over the years.
Okay. Just two more then. Do you have any impressions or thoughts about your opponent that you want to state?
No, I don't.
No. Okay. And then lastly, I won't ask this to other people, but since you're an incumbent, there has been some controversy on the board over the past 12 months that some observers have pointed out, and your opponent has pointed out. Anything on transparency, the courthouse security, is there anything you want known about those things? Why you think they were too controversial or not controversial, or just
I think they've been,
maybe they weren't controversial in your mind at all.
They weren't controversial as far as I'm concerned. I mean, particularly the transparency issue. We are transparent every week when we put the agenda together. People know what's going to be on that agenda. The backup information is there for people to know what's going to be discussed, and also it's available to the public in general. Our budgets, as I said earlier in my presentation here this evening, that we do everything in the public eye when it comes to discussing the programs, whether it be the county attorney's budget or the sheriff's budget. All of that is out there for the public to know and to see. The security situation, the Board of Supervisors has the responsibility for the courthouse and for every building that we own or the public owns for that matter, in the county. And we legally have to protect public that comes into those facilities, specifically the courthouse. And we took that responsibility on our own, and there's examples of other governmental agencies that's done exactly the same thing that we've done as far as providing security in public buildings, Brett.
There's been other counties that haven't used the sheriff's department, is what you're saying.
Yes, there is.
Okay. Do you feel like it's working well?
I think it's working well. The only thing that we're having to put in place right now is the handicap lift. The only thing that's holding us back there was the equipment. The equipment had to be manufactured and shipped in, and it's going to be available to us, I think, about the 29th of this month. And once we get the handicap lift put in, that portion of it will be taken care of. I feel good about what we've done because we've hired some of the best qualified people, locally in the community that we could hire with previous law enforcement backgrounds. In fact, one of the persons that we've hired that's part-time is a former deputy sheriff. We've got a person that we've hired that has got many years of experience with the Sioux City Police Department. Several people like that. They're very professional, highly trained. As far as equipment in the building, we've got the cameras located in places where observations can be made on the exterior of the building and also on the interior of the building. So that's a major improvement. We will also have a system set up that when a department needs help, they can utilize this new system, and I won't go into the details on that. They can utilize this new program that will immediately go to the security people on the main floor and also to the sheriff's department. It's an enhancement of what we currently have. So I really think that the public and the employees of the courthouse are safer now than they were 6-7 months ago.